Hi there, I'm Drew Badger, the world's #1 English fluency guide, and it is a pleasure to welcome you to another advanced listening practice lesson. In today's episode, what I'd like to talk about is what to say really when you get kind of tongue-tied or you lose your words. And so we'll talk kind of about why this happens because we get lots of new students coming to the channel and we often get the same questions over and over again. So I have to kind of go back and welcome people again with a later or a kind of recent video. So if you are new to the channel, hello and welcome. This should be a very interesting video which will explain why you have problems sometimes expressing yourself, trying to organize your thoughts in your head, and then what you can do about that. So going back to the very beginning, and we like to talk about the root of things on this channel. We don't want to just give you some tips about how to remember the language. We want you to understand why you have the problems in the first place so that you can solve those problems and then start learning the way you should be learning. So let's go back to the beginning of when you were starting to learn English versus when you were learning your own native language. This is kind of a long explanation, so I will keep it very short and simple. The main point or the main idea is that you have the native way of learning something and the way of learning something as a student. One of these lessons, or the way of learning as a native speaker, is complete. It gives you the written, the spoken language, it gives you the grammar and everything else you need, but it's taught in a native way without having to focus on rules individually. So this is why native speakers learn to use things automatically, because they're learning things as they're understanding it in the real world, as opposed to what a student would be doing where they're learning maybe just enough so they can read, write, and listen so they can pass a particular test, but they're not really becoming good speakers. But in doing that, they're often learning English through their own language, and this is what contributes to them having to think and translate in their head before they speak. So these problems are created by the way you learn. And when people think about, oh, okay, we should be learning like native English speakers, it makes sense after you understand, like I am learning English and I know another language already. So just think back to the different ways that you learned the native language that you speak, your own language, and then the English language that you're learning with these videos. So the two different ways of learning produce two different kinds of habits. And now you speak your native language without thinking about it, but you struggle when you have to speak English. And this problem of having to organize sentences in your head, there are different reasons why this happens. One of them is because it's a pronunciation problem where you're thinking about, I want to express something in a particular way, but when you say it, it doesn't quite sound right, so you have to try to say it in a different way just to make sure you're understood. It could also be a grammar problem. Again, you're thinking, like if I'm trying to speak Japanese and then I think of a sentence in my head first in English, I organize the grammar, then I have to translate in my head before I speak into Japanese, so I reorganize the sentence and then I try to say it. But when I speak, it's like and it's really slow, and it comes out that I'd sound like an idiot when I'm trying to speak, as opposed to like a confident speaker like I can when I'm speaking English. So now I speak Japanese fluently, even though there are some words, actually many words, in fact, I don't know, but I have plenty of confidence to get into any conversation with anyone at any time and start speaking. So the way you can get to that, and we'll kind of talk about that later, but the very specific problem I want to address in this video is what happens when you're in that situation in a conversation and maybe you want to express something but you don't know exactly how to say it. So I just wanted to focus on one expression that you can use that helps you sound more native at that time in the conversation, but also can get the other person to kind of help you explain something. And this phrase is, it's on the tip of my tongue. It's on the tip of my tongue. So the tip of my tongue means there's something I want to say, but I just don't know how to express it. Or there's something I want to say, but I don't remember the word. And this is a problem that happens to everyone. People speaking their own native language will often forget a word for something. Or maybe, like in my case, if I'm living in Japan for a long time, I may forget an English word, or it maybe doesn't come to me as quickly as when it did, like when I was living in America. So it doesn't really happen so often, but in general, people will have problems even in their own language trying to remember a particular word. And when that happens, native speakers say, what was that word again? It's on the tip of my tongue. So you can say, it's on the tip of my tongue, or what was that word again? Or what was I trying to say? What was I trying to say? So it's like when people are thinking in a conversation itself, typically, even if you're speaking your own native language, you will be maybe trying to think about an idea or a general idea, even though you don't figure out exactly what you want to say before you say it. Sometimes you do. It's a different process when you're speaking than when you're writing, and it happens much more quickly, but it's the same kind of idea where you will think about something in at least a general way and then say it. So that's what I'm doing when I'm having these videos right now. So I have kind of a general idea. I don't have exactly what I'm thinking. It's not like I have like my thought in my head about what exactly I'm going to say and then I say it out loud. I have just a general idea of where I'm going, and then I'm kind of letting that idea pull the words out of my mouth. Now, you train yourself to do this again when just speaking. And I've talked about this before on the channel when you're just describing a particular item. So I like to explain like the kind of typical thing is this is a pen. And I was just thinking about this recently because when I was at the pool doing some exercises, one of the staff members walked up to me and he said, "Hey, have you seen that new pineapple pen video?" And I didn't know what he was talking about, but it's like, really famous on YouTube, and it's like a Japanese guy. So they were asking us, and I saw it actually on the regular news in the evening, this guy on the news about pineapple pen. And I just, I don't get it. If you like that video, that's fantastic. Apparently, it's like #1 on the charts for music or something like that right now here in Japan, which is really weird. But, it's one of those, I'm sure, a flash in the pan, a one-hit wonder. These are two great phrases you can use to describe something that appears quickly and then goes away. So a flash in the pan, like when you're cooking, you get a quick flash. It's very bright. Everyone notices it, but it goes away quickly. Or you can say one-hit wonder. This is typically something you would use when you're talking about like a music artist or a group that produces one song that's really popular and then they don't produce anything else after that. So they had one hit, one great song. They are a one-hit wonder. Anyway, getting back to what I was talking about, when you get into these situations where you're trying to think about what you want to say, but you don't quite know, you can say, what was it? What was it I wanted to say? Or what was it I was trying to say? Or it's on the tip of my tongue. It's on the tip of my tongue. And if you prepare these kinds of phrases before the actual conversation happens, you're ready for them when you want to speak. As an example, so the equivalent thing in Japanese, like how do you say this or something, and you can say that when you actually don't know what an expression means, or I guess what a word is. You're trying to think of a word, or you're asking someone, "Hey, what is this object?" or "What do you call this?" But you can also use it as like, what was I thinking? And this is just the Japanese expression like "nante no." Like how do you say it, or what do you say? What do you call this? So I can't think of what I want to say, and when I was just learning Japanese, this is one of the first phrases I learned because I wanted to have something to say when I didn't know what to say. So again, you're using something to indicate to someone that you're trying to say something, but also in a native way that indicates to that person that you're not just like a stupid person, like I thought I was. So if I just sit there, it's much different than if I say, what was I trying to say? What was I trying to say? Or what was I going to say? What was I going to say? So going to becomes gonna. What was I going to say? Or you can even ask for help to say, hey, what do you call like something like this? So what do you call it? And that's the same thing in Japanese, like nantino. Now, this isn't a Japanese lesson, but the idea here is that I'm trying to learn a particular phrase so that I can use that in conversations when my Japanese is particularly weak and I don't really know how to express anything. So you have to develop, #1, the ability to just talk about things and kind of make a crystal clear idea of what you want to say, and then let that pull the words out of you. But you do this by practicing with really basic things like this is a bottle, the bottle is blue, I have a bottle, do you have a bottle? And again, it sounds like really basic stuff, but you're taking the same basic sentence structures that you would have in even longer or more difficult conversations, but everybody is still using the same grammar. So, and this, but that, so this other thing. Now, it doesn't matter how long the sentences are, you're still training yourself to be able to formulate sentences and then paragraphs and then whole stories so that you can actually express yourself confidently. So think about this when you're in a conversation and you don't quite know what to say, and you can just say, what did I want to say, or what was I going to say? What was I going to say? So it's almost like you're wanting to say something, but you kind of forgot about what it was. This is more of the what was I going to say? What was I going to say? What was I going to say kind of expression. Or you can say, it's on the tip of my tongue, when you know what you want to say, but you just don't have the right words to express it. But these kind of sentences, these kinds of expressions are things you can use when you're just having a conversation with someone. And again, you don't know what to say, but it'll help you sound much more native and build your confidence. Try these in your conversations and let me know what happens in the comments section down below. Enjoy this video. Go back and review it just so you can practice with me the way these things sound. What was I going to say? 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 It's on the tip of my tongue. What's the name of that? It's on the tip of my tongue. Yeah, the zoo. So I was trying to go to the zoo. I was trying to think of the word zoo, but I forgot it. It was on the tip of my tongue. It was on the tip of my tongue. Yeah. Anyway, if you have enjoyed this video, do click that like button and become a subscriber to the YouTube channel if you have not already. And I look forward to seeing you in the next video. Bye-bye. To continue learning, click on the link in this video to download Speak English Naturally, our free guide to speaking and sounding like a native English speaker. The guide reveals the 3 most important kinds of conversational English you must learn if you want to sound native, and will help you experience instant improvement in your fluency and speaking confidence. To download your free guide on a mobile device, click on the link in the upper right of this video. To download your free guide from a computer, click on the link in the lower right of this video. I look forward to seeing you in the guide.